chat. Rep your set in the chat. Let us know where you are zooming in from all over the place. And we're going to get started here in just 1 second. Our guest, Denzel, is coming on. We're going to see him in just 1 second. We love it. And by we love it, we mean the collaboration efforts that we're putting on right here with Denzel Napoleon Rodriguez coming to us from South Florida. Is that the 305, Denzel? It's J-Do here. Can you see and hear me?
I can see and hear you. It's the 954.
The 954 does not sound as sexy, man, but it's all in the U.S. of A. It's all in the U.S. of A, and that's what's most important today. Happy birthday, America, Uncle Sam, Lady Liberty, Susan B. Anthony, who else? Betsy Ross, George Washington. Welcome, everybody. We're live on our YouTube channel as well, The Cash Compound. And if you want to follow or subscribe there, what we're doing here is we're introducing the Cash Cultures Collide. Sorry for the 1 or 2 minute late start here. We would have been here sooner. We did our prep work on a different Zoom call and weren't paying attention there. That was my fault. So welcome, everybody. Go ahead and throw it up in the chat. I'm seeing Houston in the building, San Fran, Fort Lauderdale. All right. Knoxville, Tennessee. What's up? Indy. I end up in Indy every year, a couple of times now. Tulsa in the building. Let's go. We got Black Wall Street representing over here. New York. Where in New York, Maryland? You got to tell us where. New York is way too broad. It's like saying Texas or California. Clearwater, Florida. Love it. Alexandria, Virginia. The missus is from Arlington. Miramar, Florida. Very good. I almost did an event in Miramar. I just looked at the contract the other day. It kind of had to get canceled, but Brooklyn in the building and San Ramon, California. Welcome. Wonderful. Great to see you guys. What I'm going to do here is try to have our special guest and maybe the founder of this feast, because of his leadership on his YouTube channel, as well as his insight to collaborations that may have brought you here. So we're so happy to be here today with you, because many of you are guests of his, and his name is the one and only Denzel Napoleon Rodriguez. Hopefully you're following him on his YouTube channels and other social platforms. And he is a finance geek. I can't wear shirts like that because I'm not a finance bro. I got adopted into the finance bro family, and I'll tell you my story here in a few minutes. But Denzel, can you speak, man? And I'm going to let you welcome some of your guests. Maybe you know some of these folks, and get us kind of started with an introduction to who you are and what you're normally doing when you're not here with us at Cash Cultures Collide.
Absolutely. So yeah, I am seeing some familiar faces. I think I know Larry here in the house. So shout out to Larry. I see Edwin. I see my buddy, close friend, Minor Ramos. We just spent some time in Denver, Colorado recently. We got Gail in the house. Sandy, hello to Sandy. Terrence, Jerry Allen. Welcome to you all. If I missed anyone, I think Cheryl is a fan as well. Yeah, Fred. I see Fred's in the house. Welcome, welcome. I think I see someone else trying to connect here. But welcome. And I'm seeing there's some local Florida folks. So if a lot of my clients don't even realize, like, I'm in South Florida, Broward County area, north of Miami. And I'm always more than happy to meet a client in person, a fan. So if you're ever traveling to Florida, spending a vacation in the South Florida area, hit your boy up. I usually make myself available for a nice dinner, breakfast, lunch, whatever it may be. And so moving right along into today's Cash Cultures Collide. Man, this is really interesting to be talking about culture in a financial services industry that you and I both are in. We serve in the life insurance industry. That's where we do most of our business. And we also provide coaching and consulting and strategy and educational content. Both you and I have been doing this for a couple of years, you longer than me. So if anyone's a finance geek, it's you. All right, you got more years on me. Right.
All right.
So I'm gonna give you that title. And really the title just kind of came along with some friends. They were like, you're like a finance geek. And then I was like, you know what? I don't really hear anyone on social media really representing that term. And then come to find out, nobody had a trademark right? This is 21st century, right? Like everything is trademarked at this
Right.
point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, this isn't trademarked. No one's using it as their primary brand. And there's like maybe one or two websites that say Finance Geek, but they haven't posted content in years. So I was like, I guess Guy was telling me that's it. That's what it is. So I relied on that, and here we are years later. People refer to me as the finance geek of the 21st century. That's usually what I say on my videos, and have had the honor and privilege of serving really thousands at this point on a one-to-one basis. I want to say I've spoke to at least 1,500 families
Wow.
one-to-one.
Great.
But I know with the YouTube channel, I've probably served tens of thousands of people at this point, and then who knows the ripple effects of all the collaborations I've had the honor to do with people like Christy Van, Alex, Caleb with Better Wealth and Asset, Chris Kirkpatrick, Life 180. One of my goals is to collaborate with Garrett Gunderson soon. I've got that in the pipeline. Now, you, my friend, we've had multiple interactions. So that, this is cool stuff. This is really cool stuff. We're young and we're minorities in this particular industry, in the life insurance space. And it's not every day I get to draw my card, my minority card.
Right.
So whenever I can,
Wave it proudly.
I use it proudly.
Okay.
I use it effectively. I use it efficiently. To whether it's to get a point across or just to actually shed light. I just got back from what's called the And Asset Mastermind in Denver, Colorado, hosted by yours truly, Caleb Gilliams. And again, another year, I'm in the room full of white folks, man, full of rich white folks making tons of money, people doing really awesome things in the industry. And these aren't the type of white folks that are having their doors closed. No, these are the type of white folks that their doors like wide open. They're like, come on in, come on in. These are like givers at the highest level. And unfortunately, they don't know how to market to people like us that look like us. So the best type of people to really provide hope in certain demographic groups is really someone that looks like them. I mean, that's just, I don't know if it's an instinct, I don't know if it's a spiritual thing, an emotional thing, or if it's all of the above. But what I have found to be true, and this is coming from clients, even those that are here now, many of the times before they became a client, they were looking at my videos, they were seeing my success, and I share my story openly, vulnerably on my YouTube channel and my financial progress. And one of the main things they say outside of your faith, right? They really appreciate my openness with my faith. But the second thing that I hear often is, you look like me. And I figured that if you're doing it successfully, then so can I.
There you go.
I've heard a lot of people say that. So I'm like, this is very interesting. I didn't know that I was giving that kind of energy off. And being in that room that I was recently, I heard it again. Another client that I got to hang out with, he was like, you're here speaking in front of these people. I had the privilege to speak this year at this particular mastermind. And same thing, it's like, they're like, wow, okay, if he can do it, I could definitely do this. I got this. I'm gonna secure the bag. I'm gonna educate myself. I'm gonna empower people. And I'm gonna reach down and I'm gonna help people along the way. I'm gonna help people up. I'm gonna help people climb this mountain to financial success, financial freedom, whatever it may be. So powerful stuff there. And for today, we're gonna be really discussing how to rebuild our reputation in our minority communities. I know, Jeremiah, you're gonna be covering the African-American culture. I'm gonna be covering the Spanish culture. And we're just gonna, go back and forth and just discuss some things that are going on. So before I dive into it, is there anything that you wanna jump into or share, Jeremiah, before we
thank
get
you.
into the meat and potatoes?
Yes, and welcome once again to everybody just joining us. It is the Cash Cultures Collide. We want to make sure you understand that this is a 4-week series. Each Thursday, 3:30 Eastern Time, right here on this channel. You are registered. Stay in the game with us. We'll be back each and every week, and we've got different topics. One of the things that I'll get into coming up and moving forward is going to be the infinite banking concept. Okay, we talk a lot about that, and that is a term that I did not really understand when I first heard it at all 10 years ago. So let me give you a little bit of my background and a little bit of the culture. We did call this the Cash Cultures Collide for all the reasons that Denzel just mentioned. And let me give you my background when it comes to my money mindset. Okay, we got a lot of great things to talk about for 4 weeks, but if you are coming from a place like me, put me in the chat. So how many of you grew up in an environment where money was taboo in your house, or you could talk about money all you wanted, but there was not much to talk about? Put me in the chat, because that's where I came from. What happened over the course of my growing up years is my parents are hard workers. They're good people, but to go ahead and mute yourself out there if you can. I'm gonna hit it if I can. Oh, maybe they did. Thank you for muting yourself. Okay, so what my folks were hardworking, good people, church people, and all that stuff. We're going to hear about our faith and how that plays into our money mindset as well. But coming up I was born in the 80s, but a 90s boy, right? And getting into 2000-ish plus when I graduated high school, money was always elusive to me. It was something that I wish I had. Why? Because I had MTV and VH1. Put me in the chat. MTV, VH1. I saw the beginnings of reality television and people who are famous for being famous. And I said, man, I'd like to be like those folks, but I have no idea what it is they do. See, my parents taught me to go to school, get good grades, work hard, and go get a good job. How many of you out there, put I in the chat if you got taught by boomers, great people, you have family that loved you, but they taught you how to live in a world that faded away in 2008, where the mid-American, big bureaucratic government and big business started to fail you, right? You're like, man, this doesn't work exactly like I thought. And my little brother's out here saying he made a couple dollars on YouTube, and I thought that you had to go to school and look the part to go ahead. Aaron out there on YouTube is saying yes. Okay, so we now live in a culture that can communicate and collaborate to you over something like YouTube or this Zoom experience. And I started to understand there must be something out there that I don't know. Eventually, I realized it wasn't just haves and have-nots. It was know, K-N-O-W, and know not. I must have been a know not. Put know not in the chat if that's you. I mean, I work hard. I went to school. I got myself decent grades, thought I beat the system because I didn't even get good grades. I got decent grades, enjoyed school, enjoyed people, got out of school, and I was like, oh man, this job, J-O-B stands for jump over backward. What have these people got me doing? I'm not trying to do any of this. So I got into my entrepreneurial life about 13 years ago and recruited my brother eventually, and now we have the Cash Compound. We're going to get into a lot of what the Cash Compound is all about in week 2. So July 11th is going to be next Thursday, July 11th. That's when we're going to talk about this. But here's the thing. I got raised by people who thought, and nothing wrong with them, they thought maybe if we go to the military, Uncle Sam will take care of it. Uncle Sam is going to take care of us here because, there's not a lot of opportunities in maybe my small town or where I live, or I don't know what I want to do. And maybe the GI Bill will take care of college. If we work really hard, maybe we can make all the money we need. But hey, we're people of faith. Denzel's about to talk about that. We're people of faith. And, like the good book, maybe we're supposed to be broke. Jesus didn't have a place to lay his head. Maybe it's more noble to be broke. Anybody with me there? Anybody with me? Anybody of faith? Any Sunday school folks out there were like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be thinking about being wealthy. Maybe we should be thinking about being good. Maybe that wealth isn't all it's cracked up to be. You know what? There's a lot of people out there who are probably greedy. They're not good people. They don't pay taxes. CNN keeps telling me that. They don't even pay taxes, so they're not American. They're not patriots. July 4th, let's go, right? So what happened over the course of time was I realized, there's a lot of scripts running in my mind that just might not be right. Will Rogers, old Americana guy in the Hollywood business, said, you know, there's so many things that people think they know that might not be so. And I said, you know what? I think I might be thinking about this the wrong way. What does abundant life look like? What is wealth? Is wealth money, or is wealth time and energy and effort? Is wealth reputation? We're about to hear about that. So what we do here at the Cash Compound is we teach people code cracking cash flow. We'll get into that next week, infinite banking. But we want to talk about the mindset first and how you approach this idea of money, riches, wealth, and all that type of stuff. I'm going to turn things back over to my man, Denzel. We met earlier this year in Vegas near Henderson, Nevada, at the Nelson Nash Institute, another great fellowship of people who adhere to some fundamental and sound principles when it comes to money management. And we said we got to get together and talk through this. Why? Because we walk into a lot of ultra white, ultra bright spaces, and God loves those people. But man, I don't think they're coming from where I'm coming from. So we're going to have that conversation with you guys, and we want you guys to chime in. So keep throwing stuff in the chat. I'm going to read it here. I'm going to respond to it. Denzel's going to do the same thing. Denzel, why don't you take over, my friend, and get to and through maybe our table of contents for tonight. Rebuilding reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yes, let's stick to the agenda, because I know that we can cover so many things. We can talk for hours, but it is 4th of July, and I'm pretty sure many of you want to blow up some fireworks, go to the beach, cook those burgers, have those hot dogs, and enjoy yourselves. And I think that's great. And so I'm going to be as efficient as I can today. And for those of you that already know me, I take it right to the whiteboard. We get right into the meat and potatoes, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to take it right to the whiteboard. Here's my agenda, what I want to share with you today. I have to throw some kingdom in there. Anytime I have the opportunity to share the kingdom, that's what I'm going to do. You know, and just so you know, if you're someone that is not necessarily a believer, you're a somewhat so in-betweener, I don't know, maybe you got some church hurt. Hopefully, this conversation might be able to restore that part of your brain, that part of your heart, that part of your mindset. Because to become a king or a queen on this planet is the highest role. It's the highest title there ever will be, there ever was, forever. And so as someone who is a minority, I get to choose to remove that title from my life and say, you know what? This might be a gem. This might be a breakthrough for someone in the room here. Guess what? You don't have to claim to be a minority anymore. Whoa, that feels good. You don't have to submit to the cultural norms, the reputations that exist within minority groups. You just don't have to. It's a choice. So I chose at a very young age, when I got saved by my Father in heaven, and he put a new title on me and he called me king.
There you go.
I said, what? He said, are you serious? I said, I'm only 18, 19 years old. Are you telling me that I can be a king here on planet Earth? He's like, that's my original intent. That's how I originally designed it. You get to be a little king here on Earth, and I get to be the big king, the king of all kings in my throne room. And by my grace and mercy, you get this gift of kingship, of royalty, right? So right there is the start of rebuilding your reputation. It's just understanding who you are as an individual. And for us to understand what reputation is, I want to give you this word right here, namesake, right? Which simply means for the purpose of, or the interest of, or it can also mean the name aftered, right? After you. Who gets named after you, right? There's some multiple meanings in that, but one that I want to focus on, right? I got 3 kingdom verses for you here. I got Psalms 106:8. I got Isaiah 48 verses 9 and Ezekiel 20 verse 9. And I'll go ahead and just read it to you very quickly. Right? So in Psalms 106:8 says, nevertheless, he saved them for his name's sake. You could take that word namesake and put for his reputation. So he is referring to God. God is saving whoever them is for his reputation so that he might make his mighty power to be known. Very interesting. Then in Isaiah 48:9, it says, for my name's sake, I defer my anger. For the sake of my praise, I restrain it for you, that I may not cut you off. Very interesting. So another way of using the word namesake or reputation, a couple of things that we need to wrap our heads around as it relates to wealth, money, riches, the things that we're chasing, the things that we're after. I encourage you to chase the idea of you becoming a king or a queen first. This mindset of building a kingdom, a domain that you have full control and authority and influence over. When you're able to build that foundation, any other thing would be added onto you, right? Because of how you are structuring what we're going after. And it's really interesting the way that my Father works in heaven is everything he does is based off of his reputation. He does things with order, he does things with consistency, and his word above all else never fails. Wouldn't it be nice if you walked into a room and either everybody knew you, knew of you, and knew your works before you ever walked in the room? How much easier would it be to sell that crowd? Or not even sell, but just have a conversation. Anything you say has this influential power and authority that majority, if not all the people in the room are going to absolutely just nod their heads and agree with you. What if that could be you? What if instead of you showing up into an environment waiting for orders, waiting to be told what to do because of the titles you hold on to as minorities, as our different demographics, what if it was the orders were waiting to become from you, right? What if it was the reverse? And so I truly believe in this strategy. This is a foundational strategy that I've used since a very early age, since like 2015, 2016, when I really started my faith journey and then got saved. You know, I grew up Catholic, right? So by definition, I'm already saved as a baby, right? You get baptized and then you kind of do it again through communion, and then there's confirmation. There's all these different things that occur. But there was no relationship with my Father until I started hanging out with Christians. Started hanging out with Jamaican Christians, started hanging out with Haitian Christians, and some white Christians. Really interesting crowds. I was like, I like what they're doing here. This is interesting stuff. They seem to actually have a relationship with this God that they serve. And so I went down that route, and I noticed there were some reputations that began to exist within the body of Christ, within the church. You know, and this was like blanket across many cultures, was the reputation of money and wealth. There were some conflicting rules about how money works in the church versus how it works in the world. And then when you go to different groups, like I would hang out with certain Asian groups, I would hang out with certain Jewish groups, hang out with certain white folks, and I started to notice a disconnect. I'm Puerto Rican and Colombian. So again, coming from a Catholic faith background, it's how most Spanish people come from, a Catholic, Roman Catholic faith background. And there's history to show why that is, right? As I noticed, not a whole lot of conversation about money, wealth, not a whole lot of conversation about the reputation of God the Father and how we can basically mimic that here on planet Earth and effectively build what's called relationship capital. Okay. So building or rebuilding your reputation here on earth, there's different areas that we could focus on, right? Now, what worked really well for me was not necessarily the experience factor of reputation. This is where a lot of people try to go for experience or a skill. That is what we know in the world as getting a job, a career, going to school, going into a mountain of debt to develop the experience and skills to receive the money. This is how most of you live your life, right? And I'm here to declare and make known to you that this is a very old, archaic way of achieving a particular goal that you want to get to. It's just a terrible way to do things, okay? And you're like, whoa, buddy, you're 28 years old. You probably don't even know how to wash yourself. And I'm over here 50 years old. This is what I've done, and then this works. And, this is comfortable, right? But there's a reason why you're here today. There's a reason why you've gotten to a point where you're just like ready to yield, ready to do something different. Put in the chat if you're ready to pivot, right? You put pivot or you put I'm ready to make a change, right? So what really, really worked for me early on and building my YouTube channel over the years as it relates to rebuilding my reputation was I focused on really the mindset part, understanding what is my mind set on, like separate that word mindset. What is your mind set on? That's one part, and the other is the spiritual communication component, right? These are factors of building wealth, and it's actually the highest form of wealth creation. Really is to create. You need to have a mind, you need to have a spirit, you need to have the ability to communicate what you create. So what you create is what you think in your mind. What is your mind set on? Right? So what I spent majority of my time was thinking, forming ideas that I could create, and then figuring out a way to communicate that idea deep down into my spirit, and then I made it what my mind would set on instead of setting my mind on what can I do to make money? What can I do to increase skills, increase experience? What investment is out there? Which crypto should I buy? Which stock should I buy? What e-commerce marketing store can I start? And all this stuff, rather than, wait a minute, if my Father in heaven is real, right? If you believe in the Word of God, okay, then just maybe whoever created you might know a thing or two on how to make you extremely wealthy, which brings up another point. Genesis 12:1 is the first, or I should say one of the first case studies that we see wealth being used and applied effectively over God's people. And that person, his name is Abram, or many of us know him as Abraham, right? And it breaks down, I won't read it, but Genesis 12:1 just breaks down how wealth came to be on him and how God was going to bless him, and those who bless him would get a blessing. And it really broke down the wealth formula to acquire wealth and multiply it. And put it simply, here's another gem for you. In order to create wealth, the mathematical formula for wealth creation, the components of it is you have a giver and you have the receiver. All of us are receivers of wealth because of how our Creator set the system up. Whether you choose to believe in this Creator or not is irrelevant of the law of wealth creation. So wealth creation is a law that you, my friend, you can't break it. You either apply it, okay, or if you try to break the law of wealth creation, what happens is the law violates you. You can't violate the law violates you, and then the law remains. What that simply means is if you try to get wealth quick, if you try to take wealth, if you try to cut corners, right? These are cultural things that we think of. How can I cut corners? How can I earn a higher rate of return for the least amount of work? How can I, what are all the shortcuts and the codes to hack, right? Not to say that those things aren't bad things. It's what is your mind set on, rather than how do I create value effectively and efficiently with hacks and codes and techniques and strategies with skills, gifts, and talents that come along the way. Let me know if I'm landing so far, if I'm resonating with you in the comments. Let me know, or if I'm in my own world. I know I can do that sometimes. I can go off in my own world.
I love it so far, Denzel. You sound great to me. So yeah, sound off in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, confusions, or just comments, we're going to get to them, and I'm monitoring that right now. Appreciate you guys being here, and I love it. And we'll turn things. I don't see anything at this point, Denzel. So get back into it, man. I love where you're going.
Cool. Absolutely. So the wealth mathematical formula to create wealth is actually to receive it. So you actually don't necessarily, it's not how can I do a thing? It's first, how can I put myself in the giver's position? So the only way to get wealth is to receive it. And I'm going to make a bold statement to say that every single one of us in this room has been born with wealth, even if you weren't born with shoes to wear, clothes, if you were born in homelessness or whatever the case may be. Whatever your situation or circumstance is, I'm declaring to everyone here that you were in fact actually born with wealth, right? Because you were given life, right? So you already beat the odds, tremendous odds. So there's a wealth factor there. Now it's just a matter of, as you grow up, right, and become an adult and mature, it's a matter of how do we activate the wealth? What's the most efficient way to activate wealth? Well, my definition, my way of doing it is to seek out the creator, or in other words, seek the kingdom, seek the king's domain. When I do this, right, I'm now reaching out to the giver to receive what it is I need to do to go out into the marketplace with those skills, gifts, and talents that I already have. And now I just need to simply communicate that spiritually into my spirit and into other people's spirits, and then have my mind set on that and just focus on that. When I do that, I'm operating at the highest form of wealth creation. The lowest form of wealth creation is implementation. It's right here. Implementation. This is what many of us in our cultures are just taught to do. Implement, go work for someone, right? Nothing technically wrong with that. The problem is if you do that your whole life and not realize that you can actually put yourself in the position of giver and receiver simultaneously through value creation. Value creation, okay? What this does is this starts to build relationship capital. Instead of saying, how can I do this? How can I get this? Start changing the conversation. How can I give? How can I show up? How can I help? How can I serve? As a servant leader, you're going to start building relationship capital with people who have more to give than what you do at the present moment. And this was my strategy from day one. Reputation to me is protecting my name, Denzel Napoleon Rodriguez, for the purpose and interest of my Father in heaven. Because if I do that, it also represents and respects his namesake, because I came after him, right? So my father is first, I came after my father. So in a way, I'm for his name's sake. God created me, my creator created me. So for his name's sake, I must succeed. There's another gem, I hope you land with that, is I must succeed. There's no room for failure because of who I belong to. The only difference between, say, myself and someone in the room that is a somewhat sower, in between, or I don't know, right, is that conviction, that faith component yet. So that might be one piece that you're missing right now for the logical person. And let me remind you, if you don't know me that well, I'm a very logical guy. Go watch my channel, right? It's all day. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Case study, case study, case study. It's like, it's redundant, right? But what helps me operate at that level of conviction in the numbers is my faith component. That's what is driving the whole machine. So as I'm building my reputation or rebuilding reputation, I'm now discovering things that exist in my cultural household, in my environment, that I must simply let go of. I have to let go of these things in order to live like this. What it does not mean, and here's where this is a cultural divide. This is what happens. Oh, Denzel, I'm not trying to be white. Uh-oh. I might have just offended someone. Oh, Denzel, if I start dressing like them, put on a suit and tie and tuck my shirt in, then I'm gonna lose my culture. Like, what kind of false satanic doctrine is that you just absolutely got to get rid of? Let me know if I just offended someone in the comments. One of my goals is to trigger a little bit. I want to poke. Today I was having a conversation with a client, and I was poking hard because they came on the call with their temperature and their stress levels were so high. The wife is blaming the husband's blaming the wife, the husband's trying to justify why they do things with their finances, the wife is trying to make sense of it, and I'm like, whoa, we need to lower the temperature. How do we change this victimhood, blamehood strategy that you've been doing to try to improve your finances to a simple change in words of how do we do this? How do we serve? How do we give to each other to maximize results in our household? How about we just switch that, okay? So again, there's some things that you gotta let go of that you think is part of your culture, and it's really not. It was either influenced by social media, TV, television, or in other words, tell-lie vision, right? The television is telling you a lie in the form of a vision. That's what the television is. Tell-lie vision. That might have been another gem there. Someone put that in the comments. Tell-lie vision. That is one of the most dangerous things in our minority groups that hurt us tremendously. Or we think, oh, this is what, Puerto Ricans do. So that's how I get successful. Let me be a reggaeton singer. Let me have baggy clothes, baggy shirts with, my Cuban links and my watches and fast cars. And I'll have wealth too. That is not the root of that particular culture. The root of all of our cultures is kingdom. Mm-hmm. Being a part of a royal family that has a solid reputation and has a massive, abundant amount of wealth, an infinite amount of wealth that we can access. It's just a matter of activating that. So in that, we're building reputation. We're letting go of certain things that seem to be attached to our culture, but really isn't. And we get to consciously let go of those things. I know at a very early age, one of the things I had to let go of was sagging pants. I used to sag back in the day. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw cool kids do it, and I said, oh, if I wanna be cool, I guess I should sag. Listen, I've had 2 fathers go to prison, and this was the biggest shock I ever heard in my mind at such a young age, right? This is before I knew what I'm about to say was a thing. Okay, so at a very young age, I'm sagging, and I have one, my biological father that went to prison and was proven innocent over a decade later. And then I grew up with my second father, my stepfather, who also went to prison, was not innocent, was guilty, did time in prison. There's a difference between prison and jail. Okay, jail is what, people, maybe do a couple days in or whatever. Nothing compared to prison. Prison, a whole nother ballgame, all right? So in prison, the root where it all started of why people sag their pants, whether it's in the black culture, whether white people do it, Spanish people do it, everyone, a lot of people do it. It's not just black folks. A lot of people sag their pants. I'm someone that did that, right? Growing up in Queens, New York, and then even in, I stopped doing it once I came to South Florida. Once I heard this, stepfather pulls me aside. He says, don't ever sag your pants, and here's why. In prison, right? In prison, the homosexuals or men who sagged their pants in prison were letting you know that they were available, right? And I'll keep it very, very, cordial here, PG-13, okay? That they were letting you know that they were available. So here I am, a young man. I said, well, I'm not that thing. And I see the cool kids doing it. Maybe they don't know the root of that culture and why they do that thing to begin with. So that was a shocker for me. And I said, oh, never again. Boom, release that culture. As I got older, here's another one that affects many of us in the Hispanic community. Tardiness, showing up late, being late to everything. Do you know how much wealth, spiritual wealth, and physical wealth, possessions, money, resources? There is so much money on the table right now for those of you who show up on time. This blew my mind. This simple concept. Other cultures that I've observed, such as the Asian community, I've had a few Asian friends over my short lifetime so far, 28 years old. And whenever I would inform them of where I was going, say, hey, we're gonna meet here at 7:30. We're gonna meet here at 6 o'clock. Every single Asian would show up before that time, 10 to 15 minutes before. Me, I said show up at 6:30, I said show up at 7:30. What that really means is 8 o'clock. What that really means. It's about 30-minute delay. So 7:30 is what we're shooting for, but we're really starting at 8, right? And if you're like deep in Spanish culture, if there is a gathering and we say come at 6, what it really means is the food won't be ready till 7 and the party's not really starting till about 8 o'clock, right? And so these are cultural things that we have got to drop. Now I understand if it's to a degree, you're not going to be able to just drop it overnight. It's going to take some time, and I understand that there's a little bit of leeway in family activity or friends activity, things like that. But if we can start to develop the culture of showing up on time, that culture does not mean you're being more white or you're losing your culture. That is not what that means, but that's what the televisions will have you believe, right? Is, we don't want to be like them. So what's happened over the years is it would seem like if you're someone that shows up on time or early, you're more white. I heard this in high school growing up and amongst grown adults, grown men and women saying these things. I'm just like baffled now that I look back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, when I show up on time to my coaching calls with clients, when I show up early to mastermind events, workshops, when I show up early to networking meetings, when I show up early to work, there's so much money on the table. It's insane. I'm talking physical money, literally, opportunities, money, and I'm also talking spiritual and even like emotional, all of it. All forms of wealth. It's right there. No one's going after it. What that may look like is me getting presented with the opportunity to speak at a particular event that I show up early for, and I had the opportunity to talk to the host, the co-host, the people working behind the scenes, because I was there on time. Matter of fact, I was there early. And that put me in a position to either land a speaking engagement, land a new client, do business that resulted in actual money, actual wealth. And I then go and I steward that and I multiply it and I reinvest. And here we are today. I do my very best to always show up on time when it comes to my coaching calls, when it comes to events that I go to, videos that I do live. I do my very, 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 very best, right? And let me tell you, I've come a long way. You know, like this example today, right? I think we were like 2 or 3 minutes late, okay? Like those 2 to 3 minutes compared to me 8 years ago, oh my goodness, the amount of progress I've made. So let's give yourself some credit as well. Let's recognize the changes that we make. You're not going to be perfect, so don't beat yourself up, but just understand like where you once were. Are you typically someone that's always an hour late, hour and a half late, 2 hours late? And then over the years, you became a 15-minute late person, a 10-minute, a 5-minute, a 3-minute, a 2-minute, a 1-minute, a 30-second, right? Late type of person. Then you finally achieve that goal of showing up on time. This is powerful. I know this is so, like, Denzel, why are you spending so much time here? I'm speaking from experience. I've made so much money just showing up early. For me, early is on time. On time is late. I learned that in football, right? When I was playing sports and even in wrestling, right? And so having those two things right there is one of the most impactful ways that you can work on rebuilding reputation. If that's something that you struggle with, if it's not, then it's not. There's other things that we can pick apart. But I'm just being vulnerable and showing you what I struggled with and how I've improved over the years and the amount of wealth that has brought. That right there is 6 figures plus, 7 figures plus of wealth right there. Those two things in terms of rebuilding reputation. And now the relationship capital that comes from that. Check this out. These are 4 main areas that comes with building relationship capital. So many of us are trying to grow our bank accounts, right? And again, not necessarily a bad thing, but when that becomes the focus, you lose out on so much more. So many of us trying to build our bank accounts, where for me, I was trying to build my relationship capital. Because I know if I could get that secure, I don't have to necessarily worry about building my bank account because I'll have access. See, this is what I want in life. This is all I want in life. Access. Since a young age, my goal all the time was to get invited into the fun parties, the fun gatherings. I wanted to get invited to the cookouts. Okay, with close friends. Many of my friends were black. So I was like, man, if I can just get invited to the cookouts and the reunions, they always talking about all the good food and all the fun they have there. If I can just I'd be the one Chico there, the one Spanish guy there. And that was my goal in life at a very young age. Growing up, that's what it was, right? It didn't matter what culture it was. I just wanted to get invited. If it was Jewish culture, I want to get invited to the bar mitzvahs, to the dreidel parties, or whatever it may be. That's all it was for me, access. Right? So little did I know how kingdom-minded focus that was. That if you just seek access, in other words, seek the kingdom. When you seek the kingdom, all these things get added onto you. The things that you naturally desire in life. So I was like, okay, so really all I'm after is access. If I have access to multiple people's bank accounts, then wouldn't mine get full? Interesting. And now I live a life today, 28 years old, from 23 to 28, my whole entire life. All this whiteboard you see, my nice cameras, my t-shirt, my clothes, my house, my cars, everything has been paid for by other people's bank accounts. And by doing that, it filled my bank account, simply going for the access. And what's crazy is you would think, Denzel, I mean, if you're going after someone else's bank account, they're gonna lock you, they're gonna lock you up. That sounds a little criminal. It's like, no, I'm not saying take and log in and hack someone's bank account. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's people on this planet that will open their doors, that will open their bank accounts, and literally give you what you need. They're the giver, you're the receiver in that transaction. And when you receive, if you set yourself up in a way where you give more than what you receive, then you're going to keep receiving more of the thing that you ultimately would like to have. Access to money, access to wealth, access to riches, the shoes, the boats, the cars, or whatever it may be that you're after in this life that would provide financial security and freedom in your life. I'm simply saying, rebuild or build up your reputation. Let go of the things that are holding you back. Focus on relationship capital, these 4 areas: credibility, vouch, character, and abilities. You all in this room have natural abilities. There's something that you're naturally just gifted at, you're good at. That's the wealth part of what you were born with, okay? There are some natural abilities that you have, and then by gaining experience, this is where it comes in now, gaining experience and skills over those abilities will increase your bank account, will increase the service you provide to the giver. The character comes from the things that you let go of, that you no longer fall victim to, that you take accountability over. Just like I mentioned earlier, I picked up my pants. I stopped showing up late to everything, right? I focused, and that built character. And then character is not for you to see, it's for others to notice in you. And then they say something, and then you do more of that thing. So I'm not gonna know technically what my character is. Like, I can sit here and say, I'm a nice guy, I'm loyal, I don't cheat, I don't steal, I don't do these things, I do the right thing, I'm a good guy. I can keep spitting this out all day long, but until I actually go out into the world, get on a live stream like we're here right now with over 34 people in the room, and then however many, 3 or 5 so plus people live on the YouTube, until I actually go and do the things that I'm saying, only then will my character be revealed. And then you're gonna say something about me, good or bad, hopefully it's good, a good positive remark, criticism, feedback of me, which represents my character. Denzel's good at numbers. I like Denzel's faith. I like this about Denzel. You go to wife, you say, I think we need to sign up and work with Denzel. Okay, wife says, great, or husband says, yes, let's do it. I saw the video. That's character being formed, right? And then the vouching part, this is insane. I love this part right here. I love this. How cool would it be to have a guy like Jeremiah or Jonah do vouch for your character and abilities? When you have someone vouch for you on their behalf, here's what's happening. This is a kingdom transaction occurring right here. Jeremiah says something about me in a room that I'm not in, as an example. So Jeremiah is talking to Joe. Joe's a multimillionaire, okay, let's just say. Jeremiah's like, I know a guy. Joe's like, who? His name's Denzel. He's on YouTube. Check him out. I vouch for this guy. Hire him. Like the conviction that Jeremiah had. I'm not in the room. I'm not there. I'm like on a phone call with one of you guys, right? Doing a coaching call. I don't know what's going on. Jeremiah's at an event. He's talking to a multimillionaire. This is what's happening. This is a fake scenario, but this happens literally all the time in my life. Jeremiah says something to Joe. Joe says, tell me more. Jeremiah says, trust me, I vouch. They may not say that word, but that's essentially what the transaction is. Jeremiah is saying, I'm vouching for my boy, Denzel, who is a right, in these different things. Joe calls me and says, Denzel, I heard about you from Jeremiah. He said to do this with you, blah, 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 sign up, I'm here to pay. I can't tell you how many times you might be in the room. Let me know if you're someone in the room that something to that effect happened. Someone said my name, or you watched a YouTube channel, they said my name, the host of that YouTube channel, who has reputation, who has credibility, who has character in your eyes, right? And you said, okay, well, based on that person's credibility, character, and abilities, they are talking about Denzel, so this guy must be real. Let me go check him out. And then you do that, and then you're like, okay, business close. I did nothing. No work was involved. Pure vouching. You know how impactful that is to have someone vouch for you on your behalf for their what? Namesake? Because now if I screw up, that messes up what? Jeremiah's and Joe's relationship with that multimillionaire. Joe's gonna come back and say, yo, Denzel was late. Oh boy. Denzel was sagging. Oh boy. Denzel was not dressed properly for the restaurant that we went. Oh boy. Denzel, his language is a bit, rough around the edge, like whatever it may be, right? All those cultural things that we grow up in that become our norm, but then end up affecting our reputation, our namesake, and other people's reputation. That dramatically ruins your relationship capital. And so no wonder why it's so hard for you to sell, communicate, grow a business, sell a product, market, go on social media. Why? Your reputation isn't in alignment with who you want to be. And there's no amount of subscribers, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of comments, there's no amount of anything that will restore that reputation other than you putting in the time. So I'm just simply saying, I think it is way more profitable to focus on building relationship capital for those reasons. And one of my favorites is vouching. I love it. I absolutely love it when someone vouches for me. And then what that does is that gives me instant credibility, right? So here's another cool part. Here, let me throw in the faith component now. So that was just pure logic. That means a person that you know vouched for you, that gives you instant credibility and some character. And then now all you got to focus on is your abilities, your natural God-given abilities to deliver on what that person vouched for you to do. That's it. You don't got to worry about selling to the guy or convincing. You can get out of the selling and convincing business. For the last 6 years, I have not technically sold anything. It's always been a conversation with my clients. Comment if you're one of my clients that you've invested some money with me, you're in the room, we've done some work together, you bought something because of something I mentioned, right? And you're like, yeah, this is true. This came from here, and then I did this, and that's what happened. So the vouching part is insane. I'll be honest, I think that's my favorite. Out of the four here is the vouching part. And then lastly, it's the credibility. So I kind of worked my way down, up. Credibility is a massively just wonderful way to build relationship capital with people. And there's different ways of being considered to be credible, right? Credibility could mean that you have these abilities, you have these skills, you have experience, you know how to do this thing, and you've got work, you've got history to prove it. Well, what happens if you've never started a business before, if you've never sold anything, if you've never started a YouTube channel like me, right? Like I didn't have a YouTube channel before I started one, right? I was getting into the financial services industry at a very, very young age, okay? So I don't have a whole lot of years of experience on my back. How is it that people double my age in their mid 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s were asking a 23 to 28-year-old, that's my timeline from 22, 23 to 28 now, they were asking me for guidance on the internet, which can be a very dangerous place, social media with all these gurus. And they're cutting through all that noise to finally get to me to say, yes, here's money, please help me, please serve me, this is what I need. What are some ways you can build credibility without any experience, knowledge, or skills? Again, back to my wealth creation formula. Prime example. I'll use Jeremiah again. I'm going to put Jeremiah as the giver in this scenario, and Denzel is a newbie. So let's say Denzel, I'm a newbie, I'm a grub, I'm a nobody. Jeremiah started in 2017. I started my journey in 2018, right? 2018, 2019. Let's just say, boom, I meet Jeremiah. He's got 2 years, 3 years, however many years of experience on me in the industry I want to get in to make money, to help people. Well, when I go out, I can simply just talk about him instead of me. So I can defer me and talk about him, the giver, the person with the credibility, the person with the character, the person with the abilities, and have either him do all the talking and all the selling, and all I did was bring the person that I need to communicate with, right? So that would be a prospect in this example, or a lead, or referral, potential client, whatever it may be. Instead of me try to sell him with the little reputation and credibility I have, I can talk about this guy. And let's just say he's a big, YouTuber. As I first start out in this example, let's say Jeremiah has a YouTube channel, he's growing, he's successful, he's helped all these people, right? And all I need to do is leverage the giver. Even if it costs me a percentage of the business, I rather have 50%, 60%, 70%, 40% of $1,000 than 0% of $1,000, right? And many of us, here's another cultural thing. This is a big problem. This is a big old problem. The DIY community. Uh-oh, I just offended some people, right? If you're in this community, not to say, okay, let me give some context here, all right? There's some things I do myself. We all do things that we do ourselves. Again, if that becomes the focus all the time, right? Within any interaction, any opportunity comes your way, like, okay, well, how can I do this myself? Whoa. Instead of how can we figure out the who? There's a book called Who, Not How. I recommend reading that. If you can find the who to do the thing, not only could that potentially save you massive amount of money, but could save you a massive amount of time, could build a phenomenal relationship. And you're basically leveraging the abilities and skills and talents of someone else in another industry, in another service that you can, say, make money around or make wealth with, instead of you being the person that's doing it yourself all the time. I deal this with a lot. This right here, I think, is predominantly a man issue, okay? Predominantly. Women tend to seek out help from their sisters and brothers, but men, got to do it yourself. Right? It's always you, right? Let me tell you, when it comes to changing light bulbs in my house, I haven't changed a light bulb yet. I've been here a couple months. When it comes to mowing my lawn, I've never mowed lawn in my life. I'm not mowing the lawn. There is someone out there in the world that has a unique ability and talent to mow the lawn. And let me tell you, every time I open my door, I'm like, dang, they did a good job. That would have took me hours to figure that out right there. How do they know to cut it just like that? Do they, I mean, you see me, I'd be out in the yard with a ruler trying to figure out how to measure the cut. Like, I'd look like a clown, right? I just wouldn't be able to figure that out. You think I'm getting under my car to change my oil? I'm not a DIYer, no way, no how. There is someone with a unique skill and talent and ability that can do the thing. Now here's the issue. You're like, that's cute, Denzel. You have a lot of money, so you can afford to delegate and do those things. I bet you weren't doing that when you first started out. No, of course not. But here's the thing. I still was asking who, not how, even when I was broke. So I would just simply say, okay, I have a car, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this. These are the things I need to get taken care of. I do this thing really well. I do this one thing really well. And so what I'm saying is, who can I serve that would produce the money, the revenue, for me to delegate oil changes, mowing the lawn, fixing up things in the house, plumbing issues, electrical issues. I just had an electrical issue in my house recently. The dryer blew out. And I looked at my mom and I said, let's go find the expert. Who? Not how. I don't need to try and figure out how to fix a washer and dryer machine. I don't need to spend a second on why did the electrical blow out in the wall and it burned and I had an alarm go off and it was saying fire, fire, fire. And I'm looking around, I'm like, there's no fire. What the hell's going on? I don't need to waste a second. I just need to do. Hey, electrical guy, I need some help. I've got an issue. What's your rates? What's your price? Okay, cool. Thank you. Can you come Tuesday? Thank you. Have a nice day. I'll let the door will be open. Get right in, do your thing. Got the invoice a couple days later. There you go, paid it. So the DIY community can be a dangerous hindrance on your wealth creation because you're always asking how instead of who. The who is the giver, right? And if you can just ask, who do I need to come into my life to serve me in this particular area? And then how can I give to them? How can I negotiate, even if I don't have the currency, the financial currency, right? What are some unique things that I can do to exchange to receive the value that I need, even if I don't have the money? When I first started my YouTube channel, another prime example, I had a guy reach out to me, said, here are my issues, ... right? I said, okay, look, so we have an issue here. You don't have the money to pay me, and I need some money to operate. So here, and here are some things I need to do with my YouTube channel. We did a negotiation. I said, hey, I need a bigger whiteboard, right? So I can display these case studies. I was rocking with a little easel board at the time. For those of you that know, you know. So I talked to this guy. I said, here's the whiteboard. It's $200, right? And we negotiated. He said, if you'll coach me, I'll buy that whiteboard for you. No, I'm sorry. In fact, that's a lie. I had the easel whiteboard, and he said, I'll buy that whiteboard that you want for the $200 if you would give me your easel whiteboard. So we did an exchange. And then I think there was some money involved later on in that call, but we figured out how to make that happen. It was a small transaction. And then there was a time where I wanted to upgrade my microphone and audio, and my good friend and business partner, Alex Albaran, he gave me a microphone. He said, here you go. I believe in what you're doing. Here's a gift. So I didn't have to go spend $30 on the microphone. He gave me a microphone. I used that microphone, and I helped him by being a case study for his marketing business, that which now he has grown to a 7-figure marketing business coaching practice. Insane. And I got to be a small part of that. So it's always who, not how initially. The how comes after you get the who. And then you think, create, highest form of wealth creation, you create and you negotiate a way to receive the things that you need, and also you're figuring out, how can I actually give more than what I'm getting back? And if you have that kind of a mindset, let me tell you, your relationship capital will go through the roof. And I know me personally, I can say confidently, in terms of relationship capital, is bigger than my bank account by 10x. Because if you took all my wealth away, you took all my money away, I've got relationship capital that I can lean on with people, some in this room here right now, and others that will catch the recording, and certain business partners, that they would give me big checks to restart my business for whatever the case may be, to support, to help me out. And they would have the confidence that not only would I pay them back, but I'd probably pay them back plus interest, right? They would have that confidence, right? And being able to get to that point, I'm telling you, as I start to wrap up here, focus on this. How do you rebuild reputation? Let me tell you, this is going to set the stage for this entire workshop, because when we get into the thick of it, in terms of the numbers and the infinite banking concept and the process, oh my goodness, when you have this in mind and you go through that process of infinite banking, maybe velocity banking, and any other financial strategy you want to add on into your system, when you come with this to the table, this kind of mindset, not only are you going to have an agent that's going to serve you at the highest level, but that relationship, that dynamic, there's going to be more things that get revealed, and you're going to be able to receive it, right? Many of us are not ready to receive the wealth because we haven't fixed the certain obstacles, challenges, or blocks that are currently in your mind. And my goal during this whole workshop is to release, let go of these blocks, these money traumas, these bad money stories you've told yourself, the bad reputation habits that you have that you want to get rid of, that you know you don't like, right? And step into this new kingdom culture, this cash culture of kingdom wealth, of kingdom building, of kingdom expansion, of kingdom multiplication, right? And live the life you desire. So I am going to now yield back to Jeremiah. Maybe we can go into some Q&A. We've got some time. I want to make sure we end right on time. So hopefully that landed. This is available for recording. You guys can watch this again, go back and forth, and pick apart these different parts, right? So just to recap, we did reputation, namesake. We talked about the components of wealth creation in its highest form. Talked about the mathematical formula for wealth creation. There has to be a giver and a receiver. The only way to obtain wealth is to receive it and also give simultaneously, so it creates a multiplication effect. Value creation, who, not how. Instead of saying, how do I make more money, right? How do I do all these things? Who do I need to connect with? And think about access, right? How do I access? How do I get in rooms I don't even belong in? That's always just been like a personal thing for me. Like, it's just like a nice little inside joy that I get, and I express it whenever I get invited in rooms that let me tell you, I got no business being in. And they're like, hey, Denzel, come on, come to the back room, come hang out with me over here. And it'd be like a couple of multi-millionaires, or getting invited to Mar-a-Lago recently and having a dinner there. I'm like, what on earth am I doing here, right? Or getting invited to just different types of masterminds, workshops. I can't tell you how many masterminds I've gotten invited to where other people in the room pay tens of thousands of dollars. And because I knew a guy who knew a guy, and that guy was the host, or she was the host, or whatever the case may be, and I built relationship capital with that person, and I gave more than whatever I was receiving, they said, Denzel, I'd like you to come. I said, well, I don't have the financial resources right now to attend your wedding. Stop, come. So you serious? Thank you. And I never turned down a gift.
Right.
That's another thing. Culturally, I let go of that. That was one more thing I'll leave you with. Hopefully that's a gem right there. I do not deny gifts. There is something culturally messed up in Spanish community, and I've seen it in others, where we're just like, oh no, 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 no. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. No, 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 no. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Are you kidding me? And I was always the guy like, sure, sure. Oh, so you want to pick up the check? Thank you. I don't argue. I don't complain. I say thank you a million times. I say I appreciate it. I thank you again. God bless you. Have a nice day. I'll end it there. Pass it over to you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for this.
Dropping bombs on us. That was fire. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed that was preaching and teaching right here. Week 1 of Cash Cultures Collide, coming to you from Denzel. That was powerful. So I got a couple of questions for you. Let me post one for you from Jonathan in the chat. What if you're an introvert? You talked a lot about relationship capital. I was also hitting up Liz here. She's on our YouTube experience right now as well, and they're talking about relationship capital. So here's one question. What if you're an introvert and you hate or dislike or just don't have an automatic affinity to? So we're not going to hate on Jonathan. We're just going to say, what if that idea doesn't seem to resonate? I just want financial independence, live off the land, grow my own food. How would you respond to a thought like that?
Yeah. Now here, if you're an introvert and you have the financial resources and capability to do your own thing and DIY, and I will not argue that, right? But for the people in the room who are broke introverts, you're holding on to a cultural thing about you that you believe to be true. But on the same token, there's a person, that highest performing version of you, that future self, that wants a different life, more than likely, and then it's coming to the present and it's colliding with your current introverted culture. So I can tell you, I've been an introvert my whole life. I mean, you know how hard it was for me to ask a girl out? My God, it took me forever to ask my fiance out. And even then, I mean, if I told you the story, you'd be like, dude, that worked, right? Here's how it went. Like after I met her, I want to say like 3 months prior to actually even like asking her out, right? And this is someone I worked with, right? So my current fiance, we worked together at this indoor amusement park, and she was a party host. I'm the food and beverage guy. Hey, hi, you know, I almost messed my name up, right? So I'm completely introverted, okay? And then getting to the point of, after so many months, saying, hey, would you go out with me to this Spanish restaurant? I don't really speak Spanish that good. I know you speak Spanish. I need a translator. Literally, that was my line. She giggled. She laughed. I said, I'm in, right? She said, yeah, boom, okay? So if you're a broke introvert, if you're a rich introvert, do your thing. Have your farm. Go. Isolate. I'm not going to argue with that. In fact, I like those folks, because if the world goes south, I know who to hit up. I'm like, okay, I got my route. Go right into the mountains over here. I got my boy in Tennessee. I got some clients in Denver and the Rockies over there. I got places I can go to when stuff really goes down. But naturally, I'm a city boy, so I'm around a lot of folks. But even being in the city, I've been introverted my whole entire life, whether it's with people, with friends, making friends at any point in time, business relationships, contacts, you name it, always been scared. Here's my strategy when being introverted. I just simply told myself, can I just show up? Even if I don't say a word, even if no one comes up to me, can I just show up? So it's steps, right? Again, this is for the broke introvert. Can you just show up to the Zoom meeting, to the workshop, to the mastermind, to the networking event? Can you just take it upon yourself to just show up. And when you show up early, it's even better. The chances of you getting spoken to are 100% because they're like, what are you doing here so early? And they're like, hey, welcome, you're here early. You're here on time. Awesome, right? Who invited you? And then, so the other person does the talking for you and you're just responding, right? You're answering. And then naturally you're gonna get comfortable because you are a social human being that needs to interact. And when you have less of interaction socially, that brings on stress. Stress brings on disease. Diseases kill. Right. And this is how you operate. So whether you like it or not, there's the flesh part of you that is literally killing itself every day, all day long, either through sin, through diseases, through stress, right? There's different things that are flesh, right? You can't trust your flesh, all right? You can't even trust your heart. It's the most deceptive thing on the planet. So when you rely on, like, how can I become this king, this queen? No such thing as a king, queen being introverted. They have a flock to serve. They have a group of people that they must protect and provide over. So if you're a queen, you're a king over your household. Again, replacing, the titles that we give ourselves, that's what's going to help you step out of it. But if you're an introvert, hey, do your thing. I'm not going to argue with it. Okay. I have nothing to argue against that.
Hey, I thought I heard right there that being an introvert invites disease and death. That's what I heard. Okay, so Jonathan, you gonna have to work on that, my friend. So, no, hey, I appreciate the questions out there that you guys are throwing in here in the chat. There's been some good discussion and conversation about this. And there's so many nuggets. I threw a couple of my thoughts there in the chat. Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that what we're going through right here is we're restoring that minority money mindset. We're starting with that rebuilding reputation for this week. Week 1, throw in the chat if you enjoyed week 1 right now. Okay, appreciate that. We're getting some love on the YouTube channel. I can see our YouTube channel, our live experience up there with a few of reactions. Throw in the chat right here if you got something. You got a lot of things because you gave your attention. Remember, you're not going to receive unless you give. Right here, we had Gail talking about the principle of sowing and reaping, right? If you sowed seeds of listening and honor toward this man and what he had to bring today, you can reap the rewards of like, you know what? I got something that I can take with me because I gave my attention. So many people show up to things and they hope to be filled, but they're not emptying themselves. They don't empty themselves. There's no room to fill it up with anything new. If we're looking for a new level, if we're looking for something different than we have today, we're looking for abundance, we're looking for land opportunities so we can go have a sustainable farm, whatever that is, put me in the chat. Put me, M-E. What's up, Linus? What's up, Liz? Appreciate you guys being on the YouTube channel. Put me in the chat if you're looking to level up. You're willing to give attention, respect, some honor to the wisdom coming out of this man's mouth. Doesn't matter the color, the culture, doesn't matter the age, but you're willing to receive the words. Okay, very good. Love it. Phil, Mayor, love it. Larry, Terrence, Sandy. Okay, Kay, I love what you guys are bringing. Cool. So want to remind you that throughout the month of July, okay, we are back every Thursday. And next week, Cash Cultures Collide continues. Everything around here is alliterated. This man just speaks his faith right here. I'm Baptist. That's what I always say. I don't really get into it. I never really read the verses. I like where this man's faith is right here. But Cash Cultures Collide continues. It's got to be alliterated on Thursday, 3:30 Eastern next week. And we're going to get into the minority money mindset. So those of you who have not seen what we present here at the Cash Compound, the save and spend system. We're going to get into that. But first, we want to talk about the minority money mindset a little bit. So I'm going to bring some of that to you, and I will lead next week. If you're going to be here next week, say me. Put that in the chat. M-E, you've got it on your calendar, 3:30 next week. You don't want to miss. Of course, we will have a repeat and recording, so you can get to that anytime, of course, on our YouTube channel experiences. But we want you to be here live. Ask your questions. Learn about what we have known to be true. And it's always been true. Don't let those things hinder you that have always kept you back, because culture, whether your pants are hanging down, bagging, sagging, berry. How many of you came from my era? Bagging, sagging, berry. Or maybe you don't even know how to receive blessings of gifts. That's been hard for me. That hit me right here, Denzel. That's been there. I threw that in the chat. I've been called out on you don't know how to receive gifts. You think you can do it all yourself, DIY. If you have a problem with that, ladies and gentlemen, put that in the chat, DIY. You have a problem with it, doing it yourself. And what we need to think about is team building. Who, not how. I know that I could get out there and do a pretty good job and save myself $50 on the lawn, but I'm probably robbing myself from the blessing of time spent with someone else that I can give, or they can give me something better. And of course, the lawn guy, the lawn girl coming over and doing a great job, and I'm blessing them at their gift when I give them a little something. You guys with me? Larry says, an open hand can both give and receive. I love that. I love that. Lately in church, I'm doing some things physically with my body that I wasn't doing before. Had a hard time doing this in church, but being physical with my gestures, Why? So I can put my body in a posture of receiving and giving, put my mind in the right place. So I love that. So Denzel, man, we appreciate you being here. It is nearing the top of the hour. Any more questions, comments, and concerns? Here at the Cash Compound, we are speaking and preaching code cracking cash flow. Next week, Minority Money Mindset precedes the Save and Spend system. We are going to get into infinite banking, what it is, what it isn't, how it got here, and why we should probably jump on that train, no matter your culture. So you want to join us next week, Zoom experience, if you want to see the slides. I know we have a few people out there on the Cash Compound YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe, but register for the Zoom experience so you can see everything and follow along and interact in the chat. It's harder for us to do both chats at the same time, both slides at the same time. We will have it up. We'll do our best, but you want to be on the chat with us down here in the Zoom, I believe. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you being here so much. Who, not how. Now, also one more thing before we go. This young man right here threw out 2 different books from the same author. 2 different books from the same author. You might have some homework to do, ladies and gentlemen. I hear they have a bookstore in your town. Amazon, you got something to go find. Dan Sullivan wrote Who, Not How and The Gap and the Game. I extrapolated 1 or 2 things that this man was saying. Don't just look at how far you have to go, but look at how far you've come. Let's celebrate some of those wins. The Gap and the Gain, a newer book. The Who, Not How book, not old, but slightly older than The Gap and the Gain. Both Dan Sullivan books. I would highly suggest those. So put those on your wealth building library, and wealth starts here in the mind. Love that, Denzel. Appreciate you. Finance Geek 101, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to this man's channel. Yes. If you want this one-on-one coaching and you're subscribed to him, let him know. If you're subscribed to us and you need to send that message somewhere before you forget, let us know. We'll put you back in contact with him so you and your family, you and your spouse, you and your +1 and kids can get right in the mind first before we get to the nuts and bolts. It's a nuts and bolts week next Thursday, July 11. Peace, everybody. We're out.
God bless. Happy 4th, everyone.
Recording stopped.